realistically, the heavyweight division's never been more stacked. This is a great fight between two real heavyweights on Saturday night, and whoever wins, Cain Velasquez is waiting in the wings. You know what I mean? To fight the winner. Then whoever wins that fight, we got Dos Santos and Big Country fighting. You know, the winner of that fight's waiting for the next guy. It's just, if you can run through this division right now, you're the man. You know, I honestly and truly have not believed that Fedor is this great heavyweight that everybody thinks of. Yes, back in the day, in 2005 and before that, he was beating some great guys who were in their prime and, you know, was nasty. But to prove that you're the best in the world, you have to fight the best consistently. You have to consistently fight the best. It'd be like, you know, calling the Lakers the world champions and they're playing some college team. You know what I mean? It's not the same, and I can't believe that. I know that everybody can see the sense in that, but people just love to, you know, because he's not here, they want to say, oh, this guy could do this and that.
Right.
It's all mythology and bullshit. Now that he loses, now they want to say, oh, all right, maybe now we'll come over and, you know, because he lost. I'm done playing the games. And honestly, when he lost, you know, and you guys know, there's been times when I've got animosity with guys and you lose and I'm like, all right, there you go. You know what I mean? But to be honest with you, I honestly didn't. I didn't have any of that with Fedor. And in my opinion, the media pumped him up more than anything. You know, and when he did the fight, they were far from selling out. They did under $1 million gate. The 400,000 people watched it on show. It's not like, you know, it's not like anybody's really clamoring for this fight. If we would have come to a deal with Fedor, yeah, we could have put on a big promotion and we could have found out, you know. And people can say, oh, you got caught in a triangle. Anybody can, you know. Yeah, anybody can, but you're better. It would have been a lot better if you came over here and lost to Shane Carwin, Brock Lesnar, Cain Velasquez, than losing to Verdum. Overeem will be the next guy now. Oh, Overeem would beat them all, you know. Overeem got knocked out by Chuck Liddell at light heavyweight. And I don't dislike him at all. He's a nice guy, super nice guy. Plus, the other thing too is those guys can't even make the fights. If Fedor should have been fighting Overeem, why didn't that fight happen? You know, he's fighting Verdum. Chaos. Yeah, we'll get it done. I don't see why it doesn't get done quickly.
Where does he come into the UFC? As a middleweight, as a welterweight? I think he
should come in at 170 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, 185-pound division is nasty.
Would you say to the guy, hey, if you're coming in as a welterweight? If he says, no, you know, I'm a middleweight now.
He can do that then. If he'd rather come in, I don't think he's going to want to do that. I think he'd rather come in at 80. Why would you want to come in to that 85-pound division? I know Anderson dominates so much that he makes, but you got Nate Marquardt in there. You know, there's some tough guys in that division, and he's not a big 85-pounder. The real 85-pounders are cutting down from 215 to make that weight. So I would say 170. But on the flip side, you know, you got to give the guy his respect and credit. He beat Dan Henderson, you know. So Dan Henderson fought at 85 and 205. So if he told me he wanted to go to 85, I wouldn't argue with him. I mean, he's jovial. I mean, I guess he's different. I mean, he's Brock, dude. Trust me. He's, you know, not much is going to change. I was just telling those other guys, you know, all the fighters, no matter who you are, it's mandatory. If I need you to go to Best Buy out in somewhere, I need you to travel, I don't send him anywhere. I keep him with as little human interaction as possible, okay? And that's a fact. It's not true. We don't have anything set up yet. I mean, with that division right now, I mean, Little Nog could fight Rampage. Rampage could fight Machida. I mean, there's a lot of fights that we could make. We haven't made any decisions yet on that fight. I've said 1,000,000 times about Nick Diaz. If Nick Diaz would play the game this much, I like Nick Diaz, and he's a good fighter. But the problem with Nick is he won't play the game. You know, you gotta play. Listen, I'm not telling Nick not to be himself. You know, he is who he is, and I like him for who he is and respect him. But you have to play the game this much, at least to be in the UFC. Huh?
As a professional fighter?
Yeah. You know, there's something you have to deal with the athletic commissions. You have to do what they say. You know, there's some things that you absolutely have to do.
But still, you do have an interest.
Yeah, I like him. I've always liked him.
How old were you before you started playing the game?
Huh?
How old were you before you started playing the game?
Good point. I still don't know if I'm playing the game, but yeah, I know. We'll hopefully that's not going to be the conversation we have tonight.
What do you think about Chuck's figure? You know, they had a private party this morning.
His what?
Wax figure.
His
wax
figure,
wax figure?
Yeah.
I thought you were asking me what I thought of Chuck's figure.
That's improvement.
He's kind of hot. It's cool. Yeah, it's very cool. He deserves it, man. Everybody knows how I feel about Chuck Liddell, and he's been, not only has he been a great friend, he's been a great business partner, a great champion, a great representative of the UFC, and you know, being one of those guys that, you know, when we all came from nothing and then everything blew up and this guy got more fame and money and all this stuff, he really kept it together. You know, we've had a couple of speed bumps, but that can happen to anybody. He's really kept it together and been a great guy.
But he swayed you once into coming back in.
He won't do
it again.
He cannot do it again.
You haven't softened at all since fighting?
No, it will not happen again. He won't. The last time, listen, when we're sitting down and, you know, this guy is somebody that I care about and respect and consider a friend of mine, and he's like, listen, you know, I didn't take it serious. I didn't this, that. I'm going to train for this one. I'm going to train like I've never trained before. I'm going to do the, you know, we had that conversation. And he did. He kept his word, and he did everything like he said he would do. He looked phenomenal. He, you know, and my problem isn't with Chuck Liddell's getting in shape or any of that stuff. The problem is Chuck's chin. You know, anybody who's been in the sport long enough knows you used to be able to hit him in the face with a crowbar, and you couldn't even wobble him. And that's not the case anymore, man. And it's not worth it to me.
If you weren't so close to him personally, you think he'd still feel that you didn't want him in the UFC anymore, fighting?
It's not that I don't want him in the UFC anymore. It's
right,
just,
but competing.
Listen, we all turned 40, man. You know, I used to work out hard. Now I fight with myself every day just to get on the treadmill. You know, you're a different person when you're 40 years old than you are when you're 27. You know. It's just different. This is a young game, a young man's game.
He said that you would make the decision as a friend, though, and not a promoter, that if you didn't let him continue fighting. I mean, so does your friendship with him? I don't
disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. Yeah, you know, can Chuck Liddell still make money? Can he still, you know, could I make money off Chuck Liddell? Yes. I don't want that money. I don't want to make that kind of money. It's not. I'm not interested in that. You know.
What if he asked you to go fight somewhere else?
It's one thing if I said, let's say Chuck Liddell lost 2 in a row, and I was like, that's it. That's not the case, you know. And it's not only I don't know the exact number, you know, because it's not something that I'm interested in looking up. But 5 of his last 6.
5 of his last 6.
Right?
3 in a row by knockout.
3 in a row by knockout, and knockouts before the 3 in a row too, right?
Yeah, with Rashad.
Right. So, you know, Chuck's a smart guy, you know, and a reasonable guy. And I'm gonna have the talk with him tonight that all the guys that have their head shoved up his ass won't. You know what I mean? Because I'm hearing reports that, you know, all the Klingons and the guys who are, you know, are saying you look good right up until you got knocked out in the first round. You know what I mean? And he did. I don't disagree with that. He looked great.
What if he tried to force
He looked like the Chuck Liddell. He's throwing head kicks, throwing leg kicks. You know, when's the last time you saw Chuck throw kicks in a fight?
What if he asked you to release him and say, hey, look, if you don't want to do it, that's on you. I appreciate it, but I still want to compete. How would that go down?
I mean, we'll have that conversation. I guess if he asked me to release him, I'd release him.
Is it safe to say he'll
it's not
never
what I
fight
want.
in the octagon again?
Yeah, he'll never fight in the UFC again.